found this video. I cannot remember this girl's name. She's very. I watch her a lot. I see her fairly commonly. Anyway, she made this video about is Autism Speaks gaslighting us, and
language you would like to learn most with Babbel if you were to subscribe. Would you do Polish?
I obviously do quite a bit of videos on Autism Speaks and so forth. I talk about Autism Speaks quite a bit. So I wanted to blind react to what she is actually having to say here. So let's get on with it. I'm very curious. She is a great creator, by the way. Let's see. Her channel is I'm Autistic Now What? Like she's got 155,000 followers, subscribers. So yeah, there's a lot of people who like her channel. So I would definitely recommend you go see it. And this video is called "We Need to Discuss the Autism Speaks Rebrand Attempt." And yeah, I think I've discussed it quite a bit. I've worn it out. I spoke 120 some odd hours live, consecutive hours live, speaking about Autism Speaks. So
Polish with me, or are you gonna do something else? They have quite a lot on that.
My name is Eileen Lam, and You're watching Mind Your Misconceptions. Mind Your Misconceptions is a show where I will personally address common misconceptions about Autism Speaks. I'm not here to convince you to support us or try to win your love, but I do think it's time to...
Isn't it weird how she starts out defensive? It's just really weird to me that she starts out defensive. Now, I started in at about 4.5 minutes, so there is stuff you missed at the beginning of this video. Do check it out.
Set the record straight, because misinformation is dangerous for us all, and the autistic community deserves to know the truth.
Agreed, agreed.
One of the biggest misconceptions about Autism Speaks is that we hate autistic people. Autism Speaks does not hate autistic people. That is very untrue.
So I assume here Eileen is referring to the fact that a lot of people within the autism community do refer to Autism Speaks as a hate group.
Not only is Autism Speaks extremely ableist, but they're also a hate group.
Hey, I heard Autism Speaks is a hate group. Could you tell me why?
April is Autism Awareness Month, and a lot of people are going blue in support of it. Please don't. Wearing blue is in support of Autism Speaks, which is an autism group, which is actually an autism hate group.
A hate group is
a social group that advocates and practices hatred, hostility, or violence towards members of a race, ethnicity, nation, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, or any other designated sector of society.
Again, that 2009 ad really didn't help with this. I think anybody would agree it was extremely offensive and hurtful. And it wasn't just that one film. A lot of their early media was extremely negative and fearmongery. It did present autism as a disease, with parents talking about the hope that one day they might find a cure and showing autistic children in a state of distress. I think that has been a major cause of disconnect between Autism Speaks and the autistic community. We don't see autism as a disease. It's not a disease. It's not chickenpox. You don't catch it, you know? A lot of us see it as part of our identity. There's no us without it, so there's no way to cure it without completely erasing us. And I think this is what a lot of people fear about Autism Speaks, that they are trying to erase us.
Autism Speaks is very actively trying to eradicate autism entirely.
Autism Speaks has spent years trying to find a cure for autism, which, by the way, cannot be cured.
They promote cures and eugenics.
Autism Speaks was founded in 2005 from 3 different autism research charities. And this included the charity Cure Autism Now. Autism Speaks only dropped the word cure from their mission statement in 2016, 8 years ago. Now they say there is no cure for autism and we do not support research searching for a cure. But I mean, 8 years is still pretty fresh in a lot of people's minds, and it's gonna take a while to move on from that, you know? And even though they've removed that word, Autism Speaks do fund genetic research, and that puts a lot of autistic people on edge. Now, Autism Speaks say this is to guide interventions for autism and also to identify if an autistic person might be at risk of co-occurring conditions such as epilepsy. But the fact that Autism Speaks do have this genetics research program called Missing, in which the genome sequencing of almost 14,000 individuals is stored on a cloud system and, in their words, made available to those who want to work with it, It brings up
I
concern.
think that she's talking about Spark there, which is started by Simon Baron Cohen from Cambridge University.
Of eugenics for a lot of people, and also apparently it can be quite difficult to anonymize this sort of data. And people fear that better understanding the genetics of autism could lead to prenatal testing further down the line, as there is for Down syndrome already. And so instead of a cure, autistic people would kind of just cease to exist in the first place. It's tricky because a lot of autistic people do seem to suffer with comorbid physical health issues. A lot of autistic people do have things like epilepsy. Maybe this genetic research could help with treatment and improving the lives of autistic people, which is something that all of us want, you know. It's just hard to trust that everybody who comes across this data worldwide, you know, is gonna necessarily have the best intentions. Where is this line between potential reduction of suffering for autistic people and eugenics? I don't know. I think that question is, you know, much too big for me to answer in a video. But I think these are some of the reasons why people refer to Autism Speaks as a hate group. And back to what Eileen had to say.
Autism Speaks does not hate autistic people.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think people working at Autism Speaks are sat there, you know, thinking to themselves, oh, I really hate those damn autistic people. I'd hope that most of the people...
No, they don't. The thing is we do not want, we want to be very, very careful that we do not mischaracterize this as some kind of mistake or a faux pas or something like that, or, well, this organization just got a little bit out of hand. No. This is people who are talking about genocide, whose purpose is genocide, to eliminate a type of human being from this planet. So we got to really keep that in mind.
People working for Autism Speaks believe
that we're talking about malicious behaviors, not accidents, not oopsie-doos.
That they're doing something good. I think they probably do. We're working for a charity. We're doing good stuff. I just think there's a bit of a disconnect between what Autism Speaks thinks is good and what actually a lot of autistic adults think is good. And of course, this very rocky fear-mongering start has not really helped Autism Speaks to build up the trust of the autistic community at all. They still use language that implies they view it as a medical condition rather than a part of who you are, which is often not how we see it.
In fact, I am autistic myself, and I'm the director of social media at Autism Speaks, but I'm not the only one.
So I can't find out
Okay, she says she's not the only one, but they don't say. In fact, if you look, she actually says on one source, she said that she didn't know. That the Autism Speaks has no idea. They don't know how many autistic people work there. This is an organization called Autism Speaks with less than 200 employees, and they don't know what autistic employees they have, particularly since they've been attacked constantly for not having autistic employees. If you take any group of people, any random group of people anywhere in the world, and you just randomly pick people, you're likely to have one or two autistic people in that group. So 2 to 4 out of 200. There's 216 employees at Autism Speaks, as I understand it. They have Eileen Lamb, which means that if you take any random group of people anywhere on this planet, you are more likely to have more autistic people than an organization that is called Autism Speaks. They have one board member that is autistic. Other than that, they do not have any autistic people. And I guarantee you, if they had any autistic people in there, they are looking for every autistic person they can think of in that group so that they can say that they have autistic people there. So don't give me this line that they don't know how many autistic people they have. Eileen Lamb is the only actually autistic person that is working there that they claim to have. And that's the only one I guarantee you they do have.
How many autistic employees Autism Speaks actually have. It would be great to know, because otherwise having Eileen could be seen as a bit tokenistic, particularly because...
In fact, she says tokenistic. I literally call Eileen Lamb token. I called her token for about a year now.
of the role she's in because she's having this presence on their social media. On a page about careers at Autism Speaks, someone called Tony H says, as an autistic advocate, I am proud to work for an organization that has the same mission as I do. So we know there's at least one more. We know there's at least one more autistic employee over Autism Speaks.
We have many people
as a bit tokenistic, particularly because of the role she's in, because she's having this presence on their social media.
I want
on
to
a
see
page
this.
about careers at Autism Speaks, someone
As an autistic advocate, that does not mean that he's autistic. It means he's an advocate of autistic people. So no, that does not mean that this person is autistic.
called Tony H says, as an autistic advocate, I am proud to work for an organization that has the same mission as I do. So we know there's at least one more. We know there's at least one more autistic employee.
You're misunderstanding that.
We have many people on our board and working for our organization.
So I don't know if things have changed because Eileen says several autistic board members. As far as I can tell from the website,
But she's lying. They do not have any, period.
only one of 29 board members at Autism Speaks is actually an autistic person, a woman named Judy. There are many board members who have autistic family members, such as this guy who has an autistic grandchild, but just one actual autistic person on the board of directors.
And that's just the
things like
board.
this do create quite a paternalistic view.
And the board is not part of Autism Speaks necessarily. They're not necessarily employees. Board members could be from other things. This is a charity. Charity.
Of Autism Speaks. Oh, we know best. We'll speak for you. But I thought it was Autism Speaks, guys. I thought the autism was supposed to be speaking.
No, they do not speak for us. They speak instead of us. They say they speak for us, which they shouldn't do. They shouldn't speak for us at all. They should allow us to speak for us. But they don't do that. But instead, they speak instead of us. And you can see as she gets into Keith Wargo, where he does that exact thing. And if she gets into the Champions of Change, you'll see that.
But you know, if it's your version of what autism is, then I don't really want it to speak anymore. It needs to keep quiet. That's not my autism. There are no autistic people in their leadership roles, as far as I can tell. By contrast, the charity Autistica in the UK, which as far as I can tell was originally Autism Speaks UK, but then renamed itself, they also fund genetic research as well, but their chief executive is an autistic person, is an autistic man. Just in case there's anyone out there who thinks it cannot be done. No, autistic people can very well, of course, be in leadership roles. I do think if they were able to increase those numbers, 0% in leadership, 3% of their board being autistic people, if they could increase that just a little, I think that would help a lot with autistic.
No, this is supposed to be a charity. They are paid into the millions of dollars to be on that board. There are millions of dollars given to those board members. Now, where I guarantee you that you could find actually autistic, I could find 28 actually autistic people today that would volunteer to do that, to work on that board for free. Guarantee you that they would be more than willing to attend those board meetings via Zoom or what have you. And just take care of it that way. This is a charity. This is not a regular, corporation. This is a charity.
People feeling like they actually cared about what we have to say. Obviously, we're not a monolith. Not all autistic people are necessarily going to have the same opinions, but I just think it sends the right message. You say you value us, so practice what you preach, value us as part of your team. But I will admit, getting involved with Autism Speaks is probably a hard sell for a lot of autistic people after, this happened. And back in 2013, a previous autistic board member of Autism Speaks, John Elder Robinson, resigned from Autism Speaks and wrote a blog post. I'll leave a link to it down below if you want to read it, but basically the founder of Autism Speaks wrote an offensive op-ed, and that was just the final straw. I have tried to help Autism Speaks staffers understand how destructive its messages have been to the psyches of autistic people. We do not like hearing that we are defective or diseased. We do not like hearing that we are part of an epidemic. We are not problems for our parents or society or genes to be eliminated. We are people. We do have problems and we need help. Some of us need counseling or training, while others have significant medical challenges. We also need acceptance and support. There is a great diversity in our community, which means we have a very broad range of needs. Unfortunately, the majority of the research Autism Speaks has funded to date does not meet those needs, and the community services are too small a percentage of total budget to be truly meaningful. We have delivered very little value to autistic people for the many millions raised. It's a shame that they couldn't hold on.
No,
to this
you're right.
autistic.
You're right, Lynn. They don't care. Autism Speaks is not about autistic people. It's about money. It's about making money. And the deeper you look into the organization, the more you see that it's literally there just to make money. And that the whole idea of any charity or whatever else in helping autistic people is there only just to make money for that organization. We're being used.
And hopefully they'll hold on to the one that they've got now, because God knows they need them.
One of them actually works on the autism response team, which is such a great service we offer to the autistic community. It's a free hotline that anybody can call and get answers to whatever they need help with.
I couldn't find any data on how many autistic people work for the autism response team. I'm assuming
I don't even know that it exists. You try to get a hold of it. Try to do something. I don't even know that it's real. I really did try to get a hold of it. It's called ACT, ACT, Autism, or ART, Autism Response Team, and I've tried to get a hold of them or whatever. I don't think it really exists, to tell you the truth. I think it's just BS, and that's why she couldn't find anything. She's not going to find anything at all.
Just one, because that's how Eileen seems to phrase it here.
One of them actually works on the autism response team.
I mean, as a helpline for autistic people as well as their families, I think it would be pretty cool to have more than one autistic person on there, just saying. Honestly, I think this whole section...
But more than anything, all they're going to do is refer you to their website. They really can't do anything except for if you go to Google for any autistic question that you have, it is 1,000 times better than going to the Autism Speaks for anything. Google is the way to go. Autism Speaks. They say they have resources for autistic people, and what it is their own horrible Google search engine. A little mini Google search engine that they have within their site. Not even outside their site. It's horrible. And that's what they say, how they help direct autistic people to resources. They just have that website up, and that's ta-da! They've helped autistic people, so they don't have to do anything to actually help autistic people at all.
Would have been so much more persuasive from Eileen.
That was such a horrible freeze face. I feel so sorry. I hate it when I do that to people.
If she had shared stats of how many autistic people do Autism Speaks actually employ, I still have no idea. Even if it was on the lower side, she could have said, look, this is something that we are really pushing towards increasing. But then I don't really see anything encouraging us to apply on any of their recruitment pages or anything like that. They have pages that encourage other companies to take on autistic employees, which is, good. But again, nice if you could maybe practice what you preach, and that might actually show that there had been some change and growth within Autism Speaks as well. They have this quite kind of bleak and depressing page of autism facts and statistics, and on there they mention how only 21% of disabled people, including autistic people, are employed. So I don't know, maybe you could do something about it.
We also have people...
Actually, what their answer was going to be is that they are doing something about it, and it's... I can't remember what they're calling it now, but they're really pushing this back to get autistic people to work thing. The problem is what they're doing is they're framing autistic people as laborers,
well, those autistic people, they like those repetitive actions. Yes, they like those repetitive actions. So they're really good laborers. That's right. That's instead of framing it in a way that we can go to college and so forth and be in leadership positions. They're not talking about that. They're talking about our self-worth being dependent upon our ability to earn wages, our productivity. Our value is based on productivity. And so what they're trying to do is frame us as laborers. And that's very, very sad. I think we need to push towards mentors, not laborers. We need to push towards mentors helping autistics with whatever their special interests are. And then pushing them. And it doesn't matter if it's Teletubbies. There's somebody out there that could buy and sell Teletubby paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it, goods, and make millions of dollars, whatever. Maybe there's a market, maybe there's a purpose for that, whatever. But those special interests, finding autistic people that already have those interests, that's the people that you want doing those things and taking care of those things, working with those things. It's very, very sensible, and those autistic people are going to be naturally talented at those things anyway. So why not give mentors instead of this laborers? Yes, those autistic people, good laborers. They can just do. They like those repetitive actions.
In public advocacy. So no, we do not hate autistic people. Quite the opposite.
I did find a little program that they have which seems to be quite new called Champions of Change. On their website it says we work with 6 fearless self-advocates, but then when you look into it a bit more,
Mom, this is an autism mom right here.
it's actually only 5 autistic people. One of the people in the group is a mother of one of the autistic people, which feels a little bit misleading. Are we trying to sneak an extra autistic there with this page,
Yes.
Autism Speaks? Is that what we're trying to do? A sneaky extra autistic?
And every time I've seen Keith Wargo talk about Champions of Change, he's talking about, and they're here for their voice and so forth, and you don't hear them talk about them. They don't express themselves. All it is Keith Wargo talking about them being able to express their voice instead of them expressing their voices.
I can see why you would want more of us. It makes sense. And yeah, you can see elsewhere on the website they are referred to as 5 autistic advocates. So there is only 5 autistic people in this group. I'm not sure exactly what this program involves. I hope it involves payment. Seems like they might be available for things like speaking engagements, which is pretty cool.
Nope. Not if you're David Page, they're not available for speaking engagements. Autism Speaks won't talk to me at all because I asked too hard of questions.
Another misconception about Autism Speaks is that we believe autistic people are missing a piece. I think this comes from the fact that we use the puzzle piece logo.
I know some people definitely do interpret this puzzle piece logo. Hey, you can even get it as a temporary tattoo if you want. We found that out in another video. But I know a lot of autistic people do interpret it as autistic people missing a piece. However, I do wonder if having a research project researching the genetics of autism, which is literally pronounced missing, I wonder if that doesn't contribute a little bit as well. I would say it probably doesn't help very much. Autism Speaks, just saying. Apparently the missing vowels in missing, we're saying missing a lot, but apparently that represents the missing information. So I think it's supposed to be more kind of like the gaps in our knowledge and understanding about autism and what causes autism, rather than autistic people, you are missing bits and pieces. But you know, you could forgive people for interpreting it that way, particularly given...
And this is the problem. Autism Speaks says they changed the puzzle piece. The thing is they knew it was problematic with the autism community. Instead of changing it completely and saying, hey, that's not what we meant, no, they decided to keep it. And what they said is, in their opinion, they think, Autism Speaks, thinks that it represents autistic people. Yeah, it's pretty screwed up.
And some people interpreted it the puzzle piece logo to mean that autistic people are missing a piece. That's not at all what we mean.
I feel like Autism Speaks might want to question why so many people are coming to that conclusion and maybe consider changing it.
The puzzle piece logo was originally designed to raise autism awareness in the UK in 1963. On that image, there was the picture of a child crying, which gave the puzzle piece a negative connotation. And I think that's where the misconception about the puzzle piece started from. But in the US, it was only at the end of the 1990s that the puzzle piece was used for autism awareness.
It's true, the National Autistic Society did come up with it in 1963, and it did originally feature a crying child. This was in order to emphasize suffering, and it was supposed to represent the...
And Suzanne Wright, the co-founder of Autism Speaks, she's the one who actually designed this puzzle piece. She got the inspiration from the puzzle piece we just saw right there from the UK.
fact that autism is a puzzling
And then she decided that it was blue because 1 in 4 are... Three out of 4 kids that were diagnosed with autism were boys, so that's why she chose blue. And she says that flat out. Actually, it's on YouTube. You can find it there.
The puzzle piece is so effective because it tells us something about autism. Our children are handicapped by a puzzling condition. This isolates...
And it's also on TikTok, where in my videos I've referenced it several times.
them from normal human contact, and therefore they do not fit in. The suggestion of a weeping child is a reminder that autistic people do indeed suffer from their handicap. But you know, being made to feel like we're a puzzling case that you just can't figure out what brought them here, I don't know, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable, a bit dehumanizing. I think it is important to note as well, the National Autistic Society came up with this in 1963. They do not use the puzzle piece as their logo anymore, you know, they've moved on. It is possible for one to move on, but I doubt Autism Speaks want to, because that puzzle piece logo is pretty recognizable.
And she's right, they don't want to. Absolutely, they do not want to. If they wanted to, they would, but they it's a brand thing for them, and it makes them money, and they don't want to risk losing that money, and that's why they refuse to change that puzzle piece. And that's what it boils down to, because it's not about autistic people, it's not about what autistic people want, it's not about what autistic people feel. It's about making money.
For them now, and a lot of people like it, particularly families of autistic children. It's kind of become the symbol of an autism mom in quotation marks. Obviously, you know, there are a lot of parents of autistic children who do not like the puzzle piece as well, but it's kind of become a bit associated with, you know, a bumper sticker or something like that with a cringy quote about autism. A lot of people do really like it and do see it as a symbol of autism. There are autistic people who really like it. I don't think Autism Speaks want to change it.
And the fact that a lot of people don't know about is that in the room when the puzzle piece was chosen...
Okay, this is brilliant. Okay, she's gonna say, okay, she said in the room when they were making the decision about the puzzle piece, an autistic person was in the room. Like, they may have been sweeping, they may have been asleep in the corner or something. She doesn't say that they had anything to do with the decision-making process whatsoever. She says that they're in the room. Listen to this.
To represent autism, there was an autistic person there. A lot of people do not know that cool fact about the puzzle piece.
The way that's phrased, I just imagine for some reason an autistic person like just tied up in the corner, like, you will be here, you will be in the room while we make this decision about how we will symbolize your puzzling condition. Like, the way they were talking about autism in that quote and using language that we wouldn't use today. Like, do you think in 1963 they really would have respected the opinions of the disabled? We can't even get more than one autistic board member now today. 1963 was not a great time for disabled people. Just look at what psychologist Lovaas was doing at that time. Horrific things.
And I don't think an autistic person would have chosen the logo to mean that autistic people are missing a piece.
I mean, who knows what that one autistic person thought and how involved they were? I looked for ages and I actually couldn't find anything online, and Eileen has no source for it. I couldn't find anything about an autistic person being in the room, being involved in anyway. The person who designed it, Gerald Gasson, it sounds like he had an autistic child. Maybe his child was there. Maybe that's what she means. Was his child part of the decision making? Probably not. Probably not. Even if it was an autistic adult, one autistic person being present in 1963 does not mean that it has the stamp of approval for all time from every autistic person on Earth. I loved the way this was worded. This study of 400 autistic people concluded, if an organization's intention for using puzzle piece imagery is to evoke negative associations, our results suggest that the organization's use of the puzzle piece imagery is apt.
Another misconception is that Autism Speaks misuses donations. We don't.
I mean, if a lot of autistic people disagree with Autism Speaks' mission and priorities...
We don't, and that's just all there is to it. She's just gonna, we don't. And what she's going to do is go into the 86%, and I think it's 86%, that they say goes to autism thing. However, that's 86% is money that goes to grants that go to research for genetics and so forth, genetic research. Most of that money is going to genetic research. Only $400,000 out of the gross of 86 million, net of about 39 million. Out of all that money, only $400,000, about $400,000 goes to actually autistic people. And part of that goes back to Eileen Lamb, because that fund helps actually autistic people's families. Her family, her 2 kids are being put through school, as I understand it, by Autism Speaks. They're paying for it. So it's coming out of that $400,000, I'm sure. And they paid for at least one of them's diagnosis, probably once again out of that fund, out of that little tiny bit that goes to